Hey everyone, Jamie here. This morning I wanted to talk about why we are the way we are and why this matters to your manifestation journey and to you living the life of your dreams and connecting with your deepest desires and achieving your goals and all the wonderful good things. In my signature program, Next Level You Breakthrough, this is one of the first things that I talk about, and I have a whole module on it because so many of us feel all sorts of ways about ourselves that are not good, and so many of us do not have grace with ourselves. My hair is like so fluffy and puffy this morning. The most important thing to remember is it may not be your fault why you are the way that you are. And I'm going to actually explain to you how it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility. It is each of ours responsibilities to stand in our power and take ownership, take radical responsibility for our lives, for our present and our future. So there are a lot of things that were out of our control growing up. And here's the thing that's most important. What I personally believe to be true, and there's evidence of this, and there's scientific research that's been done, is not only were we programmed and conditioned by the adults in our lives to be a certain way, to think a certain way, to have certain expectations, to behave a certain way, to speak a certain way. Not only was it the adults in our own childhood and then growing up, but generationally, ancestrally, there are beliefs passed down. And this is really easy to validate, right? Because you can see the same beliefs when you look back at relatives. When you look at your parents, when you look at your grandparents, and you can see that. You can see the generational cycle. Like you can see recycled beliefs. So why are we the way that we are? We're the way that we are because it was how we were raised to be. It was what we were taught in the school system. It was culturally what was acceptable. It is what our society groomed us, conditioned us to believe. That's what I mean when I say it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because I genuinely believe and know that everyone is always doing the best that they can with what they know, given their circumstances, in any moment of any day. I genuinely believe, and I have so much grace for the adults in our lives who fucked up a lot, who saddled us with shitty beliefs, who conditioned us to not question authority, to, and I'm a millennial, but my siblings are Gen X and, boomer parents, whatever. So I I have a lot of influences in who I am and how I am. I'm kind of like on a cusp of Gen X millennial. And so, this might not resonate for like a Gen Zer listening to this. Like, you might be like, what do you mean? I was empowered from the day I was born. Well, that's because your parents had a lot of trauma. And that's what happens a lot of the times, generationally speaking. We say, I'm not going to be like them. And there's some key things that we insist on. We dig our feet on and we say, we're not going to do it that way. That's how our parents were. I can tell you exactly how it was for me. My parents were very just permissive in a lot of ways. Like, they really didn't care, like, what we watched on TV. And I watched a lot of inappropriate stuff growing up. And I really feel like it was not good. It was not good for me. And that's something that I've really dug my heels in about, and as a parent tried to restrict and limit with my kids. And there's so many examples of that, and I don't want to get off topic. So why are we the way that we are? For all of those reasons. We observed, and we absorbed. Because here's the most important thing that's going to make a huge difference for you to know. Our brains and our bodies have one mission, and that mission is to keep us alive. In other words, to survive. In other words, our brains and our bodies don't give a fuck about us thriving. Our brains and our bodies don't give a fuck about us being happy. Our brains and our bodies don't give a fuck about us feeling fulfilled. That's our soul. That's our spirit. That's our spirit. That's our soul. But that's not our brains and our bodies. Our brains and our bodies are basic bitch. They care about one thing: keeping us alive. And so when we have aspirations, when we have big dreams and big desires and big goals, our brains and our bodies are like, fuck that shit. No, 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 no. We are comfortable. Even if we're not comfortable, it's more comfortable to be in the discomfort that's known than the discomfort that's unknown. Our brains and our bodies are like, nah, that doesn't sound safe at all. That sounds risky. That sounds like there's potential for bad. So pass. Hard pass, veto. That is what our brains and bodies do. And that's why when you're doing something scary or you're really afraid, but you do it anyways, you have all sorts of physical sensations in your body, like your heart is racing, or you're sweating, or you're getting really hot, or you're getting flushed. Maybe you're shaking. I mean, this is your body saying, hey, moron, wouldn't you rather just like slink back and not do this because it's way safer to just like stay small? Like, wouldn't you much rather do that? We would. Our brains and our bodies want what's familiar. They don't like change. They want what's predictable. And so from a very young age, this is scientifically, this is like anatomy and physiology 101. This is literally what is happening inside of your body. When you are young, your brain is trying to figure shit out as quickly as possible so that you are more likely to stay alive. It's that simple. And it's called forming schemas. That's the technical term you would find in your book. What you are doing when you are a child, elementary age, toddler to elementary age, when you are a child, You are making sense of the world, and your body and brain is very attached to your parents. You inherently know, in order to survive, these parents have to like me. They have to want to keep me around so that they'll keep feeding me and so that they will give me shelter. This is not something you consciously think. It is something that you unconsciously are driven biologically towards. So, as an infant, it's like nobody teaches you to cry. Nobody teaches you how to nurse. You literally are born knowing how to do those things. You are born with certain reflexes, and that is to make sure your needs are met. And then as you are getting older, you very quickly, and you're born with this attachment. You're born with these propensities. Like they say you're born looking like your father so that your father is more inclined to develop an attachment quickly to you. Why? Again, it's a survival mechanism that is biologically built in. Like, why are kids cute? Why do they, when they look at you and coo at you, it like releases, all these chemicals, these good feel chemicals in your body, right? It's all part of this crazy, miraculous, divine system that supports the baby surviving so that it continues to grow and grow into adulthood. But from the brain and body side of things, I don't want to like get too far off in any one direction, but we are literally built in a way where we very quickly figure out, okay, this is how I have to act in order to be safe. Like, this is how I have to act to get fed. This is who I have to be in order to have shelter, in order to have my basic needs met. Oh, I can't say that because that really upset the parents, and then I got punished, which was very dangerous, which felt like life or death, right, at that age. This is how I have to act. This is what I have to say, or this is what I'm not allowed to say. This is what I need to do. This is how I have to behave. Oh, I get outcast if I speak this way. I'm rejected. I'm pushed away. I'm punished. If I say things like that, better not say those things anymore. Oh, my dinner got taken away from me and I was sent to the corner, or I was spanked because of acting this way. That's not allowed. If I do that, then I'm less likely, right? Like, biologically speaking, we're not consciously making these connections, but unconsciously, the connections are being made. This is what is bad. This is what is good. That makes me less likely to survive. This makes me less likely to have a family. This makes me more likely to be ostracized and cast aside by my family, by my community, by society. Oh, this is good. This is acceptable. This is safe. This is what gets me approval. This is what gets me love. So from a very young age, most of us learned unconsciously that we are not unconditionally loved, that the love that is shown to us is conditional on how we act, what we do and what we don't do, what we say and what we don't say. So from a very young age, we were conditioned to believe these things. And then we would observe We would observe the adults around us. How would they talk about certain things? How would they act around certain things? Most of us, if you ask us, we could tell you whether or not our parents were stressed about money or not. As children, we picked up on these things. And then we took them in as truth. Well, this is how it is with my parents. Oh my gosh, money. Gosh, my parents always fight about money. Money causes fighting. Money is bad. Can you see? But unfortunately, we are dealing with beliefs and conditionings that we blindly, and sometimes it only took one experience. In as little as one experience, we formed an entire belief system that as adults we still use today. All of our beliefs were formed in our early childhood. As grown-ass adults, our system is operating on beliefs that we embraced and adopted in our early childhood. Very immature. There was no thought, there was no critical thinking that went into whether or not these beliefs were for our highest good. In the moment, we made a snap decision based on a single experience. This is how it is, and this is how I have to be in order to be safe. And then every experience that we had thereafter, our brains sought to reinforce those established beliefs. That's literally how everything that we believe, everything that all of our subconscious programming, that is where it came from. So can you see the flaws in that system? Can you see how flawed that system is? And can you see how literally the way you view the world, the way you see things, what you believe, everything is built on a house of cards. But that is what is controlling your experience right now. How you go through life, how you experience life, the perspective you have, it is impacted by this subconscious programming and this belief system that was formed really, really, really young with a very immature brain with one goal: to keep you alive. That's why, as an adult, when you're trying to thrive and you have these big dreams and these big aspirations and these big goals, and you have these incredible desires that are totally aligned with your purpose, by the way, that's why you're having a hard time connecting with them. Because your brain and body is working against you to stay small and to stay, quote unquote, safe based on the belief system that you adopted very early on in your life, which was based on your parents and the adults in your life, your teachers, your parents, your school system, the rules, and what was established to be acceptable culturally. And this is very tribal, guys. Back in the day, if you got kicked out of the tribe, you died. If you were ostracized, if your tribe rejected you and then you were all out on your own, you were dead. you needed that tribal community to survive. That is deeply ingrained in us ancestrally. That's why it is so hard at first to experience rejection. That is why it feels like the end of your life. That's why it feels like the end of the world. That's why it feels like worst case scenario when you get rejected by your friend group or at school or at your place of work, when you're not in the cool crowd, or when you don't have your group. It's very scary. Why? It's because literally, and we have ancestral beliefs that is a death sentence. To be rejected, to be outcast is a death sentence. But the good news is that we can, I did not mean for this to be like literally me regurgitating the entire module, but here it is. That is why the good news is this is not set in stone. First of all, our brains are malleable. It's a thing called neuroplasticity. We can establish new beliefs. We can upgrade our subconscious programming,